Hey y'all, this is AL Thick Madame and Cinnamon Sugar, and this is the recap review for The Shy. I know I'm late, but those of y'all who know the most be popping off, and I am not gonna be able to record stuff if people are extremely loud, and I cannot focus on even watching the show to begin with if they are so loud that I can't even hear the show playing. So yeah, I don't want to ever come before y'all where I am very upset and so annoyed to the point where I cannot focus. And you know what I'm saying? I like venting and all that stuff when I do my what a day post, but I'm talking about like when I'm doing a video like this, I want to be able to come to y'all and be who I need to be. You know what I'm saying? Present to y'all what I need to present to y'all and not be in that state of mind. So anyway, I calmed down. Yesterday I needed to relax, shower, wash my hair. I was going to do a protective style, but I just did this because at this point, I'm going to be going to this music situation in like a month and a half. And ain't no reason for me to do all that when I'm going to do a protective style then because I'm going to be doing the most and then taking it down and putting something else completely different in. And what I wanted to do, well, one of the 4, 5 things I wanted to do, because y'all know I'm very indecisive when it comes to hair, it was all of them was gonna be me doing the most, and I'm like, ain't no reason for me to put all that into doing my hair, and then I'm trying to set it off a little bit, or at least try to, when I do my hair next month. Anyway, now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's get into the recap review. So it started where it left off last time, where even though it might not seem like it, but it did. Um, we end up seeing Victor in the car with Doodah. Y'all know Otis Perry. And they riding, and all of a sudden, Victor hears this noise that's obviously coming from the trunk, like something rolling around, something beating or something, like what's going on? So he like, what was that? And I'm like, Lord, okay, so Q is still alive and kicking, literally. Okay. So they pull up under this bridge. As soon as I saw the bridge, I said, oh, okay. We got to go up under the bridge to where, nobody is trying to be up under there. Nobody can be nosy. You can't really hear anything that's going down. So that's why they pulling it into that particular area. Oh, okay. So he goes and open the trunk up, and then Victor sees what's going on. So he looking like, what's going on? Before he can even really figure out what's going on, he over here like, man, what's going on? He did hardly turned his head, and Doodah that let off 3 shots into Quentin Q, and they killed him. So he looking at him like, man, what do you got going on here? You know, I have a reputation. I'm trying to run for council. I'm out here. I'm trying to do what I'm doing. Like, don't you got other people that you can call? Because he was like, I needed somebody to help me to do this. And yes, I had other people that I could call, but you're the only one who has something to lose. And I'm like, I cannot. See, this is why I have a love-hate relationship with him, because you see that he's doing what you couldn't do, because you would rather continuously still have more negative going on in the background than having more positive going on, especially with you being the black mayor of Chicago. Like, it was just too much going on. So anyway, Doodah was like, he done did his job, so let me go on ahead and get in the passenger seat. So he looking at him like, I don't understand. And he trying to tell him to drive off, and he was like, no, man, like, why? What did you doing this for? He was like, look, I needed to take over this situation. He ain't doing what he need to do. I'm trying to protect you and everybody else, whatever, drive. So he gonna go help him bury the body. Meanwhile, we see everybody pitching in to help little EJ. One moment we see Keisha and Emmett helping him, and then the next moment we see Tiffany and Rob helping. And I'm like, okay, y'all better do this with this co-parenting situation. Like, I am here for it. And it's so good because they are doing so well with him. Okay. Now, I did jump ahead a lot. I jumped ahead a lot, and I wasn't trying to jump ahead like that, but I don't even know how that happened, but it did. My bad. So now we see that Tiffany is basically doing the normal exchange, and he was like, "Look, we ain't got to talk about it if you don't want to." She was like, "Yeah, I don't want to talk about it." So he was like, um, she was like, "Cause I already told Rob, I came clean about what I did, and we had a real grown up conversation about it, a real conversation, and we all good." So he was like, "Well, good. I'm glad you were able to do that because I had a conversation with Keisha and told her all what went down too." So she was like, "Dang, everybody know my business. Like, you ain't have to tell everything." And so he was like, "Yes, I do. Like, I have to tell the truth because I'm a changed man." So it's a mess because at this point, it's like, how is it that you seem to be regressing and he's progressing? As much negativity that he's always had surrounding him, like he was always into something negative and he's actually trying to be a better person. Like, I'm just kind of shocked. But she kind of was just like, "No, you don't need to do this." He was like, "No, I'm changing for the better. I'm trying to be a changed man. I tried to tell you I'm a changed man now." So I'm like, golly. It kind of makes me feel like if they would have stayed married, he probably would have, really changed and been the man that he has been being so far so good with no, I forgot her name all of a sudden. Y'all know who I'm talking about, his girlfriend. But probably not because they weren't meant to be. So whatever, it is what it is. So on her way out, she was like, "Oh, and don't forget that we have a parent teacher conference." And he was like, "Oh, you ain't got to worry about that. I remember. I got it on my calendar." She was like, "Oh, what? Okay." So he told me he ain't gonna forget. Cool. So then we end up seeing Kevin at his girlfriend's house. She had like $200 already, and well, $4,000, and he just brought more money. So he was like, "Well, how much do you think that is?" She was like, "Maybe like $2,000." And he was like, "Well, how much did you already have that I had you hold for me?" And she was like, 4,000, because I counted last night and threw it on the bed. So he was like, "I think I got enough for me to go and get my own spot." And she was like, "Why would you do that?" And he was like, "Man, I don't think I could live with my folks no more. They be doing the most. I need to be able to have freedom." And so she was like, "You ain't got but one more year with them. So why do you feel the need to go do all of this? Like, you should be able to stick it out." He was like, "No, man, you don't understand. I don't think I could do that. So do you think I have enough for a spot?" Okay, how much is the going rate in a decent area of Chicago where there's less crime? Like, how much is that for an apartment? Like, for real? Or to rent a home? A rent to own home? Like, how much is that? Like, I know the down payment might be okay, but as far as a down payment on you, like having first and last month's rent, like how much is that at a decent apartment complex? What is going on? I'm like, $6,000. You know what I could do with $6,000 around here and in Alabama, child. Anyway, so we end up seeing Doodah and Victor. They are back at, I think, Doodah's house. And so he trying to understand what was the point of him doing all of this. He was like, "Look, I'm trying to protect you. I'm trying to protect Tracy. I'm trying to protect the Rock Center, and I'm trying to protect Trinity House." And he was like, "You putting all of us at risk. You need to stop dealing with Tracy. You gonna get her killed." And he was like, "Nah, I ain't gonna get nobody killed, whatever, whatever." And so he done told him straight up, "You need to stay away from her." Like, he was like, "You really gonna get her killed." And he don't even want to have to be the one to tell him that he's the one who's done what has happened. And so he looking at him like, "Oh, so you think you a bigger, better man than me now?" And he was like, "Yeah, somebody got to be." I'm like, "No, you ain't have to set it off like that." You ain't have to set it off like that. So we see all the ladies, including Keisha. That's what I meant to say earlier, because I don't know why I forgot her name out of nowhere. All of the ladies of the Chi, you might as well say, got together and they were doing yoga together. And it was something that they got together and decided to do for Jada. I guess it's like one of her like wedding gifts or something like that. So she was very thankful for it, and I mean it's very relaxing. So that was a good gift for her. She thanked them, and Keisha thanked them for inviting her and all this other stuff. So like little shade kept being thrown. I was like, wait a minute. One person talking about, "Oh well," um, they were talking about Nina and Dre's relationship because it tried to come for Emmett and Keisha's relationship. Like the jury is still out on if that's really like a relationship for real, especially if it's gonna last. And it's like, girl, you barely made it with your wife, and then girl, we really not gonna talk about Tracy because Tracy's there too. So she was like, I'm trying to understand why I ain't get a +1 to your wedding, and she was like, girl, and so it was pretty much understood that we don't know him like that, but we know his reputation. His reputation precedes him. Nobody has time for the foolishness. And so she was like, people change. He's a really good guy. And she was like, well, maybe we can do something like at a different time where we do a double date. Then Dre jumped in and was like, oh, well, we can make it a threesome and we can go to it. So she was like, oh, that's an even better idea. And so she like, oh, so are you trying to do this so that it could be a buffer? And I'm like, Tracy, be glad that she even agreed to meet up with y'all because don't nobody have time for the doodah drama. Like, don't nobody have time for it. And that's literally what he is. So anyway, it was a mess. Later on, we see Trig talking to Gemma's daddy. And so he is so fed up. He was like, man, he got to get exposed because he gonna get Tracy killed. I don't think Tracy know that he done killed her baby daddy. Like, he gonna get her killed. He gonna get a whole lot of other people killed. Like, he is on a rampage. He really think he doing something, but he ain't. And so he was like, we need to leak this tape. This, the tape that is going to reveal that he beat almost the life out of him. And so he was like, okay, I'm down with that. Like, if you want to do that, let's do it. When you trying to do that, he was like, look, I'll give you the signal. But in the meantime, in between time, I think I need to have you on my team. So he was like, are you serious? So he was like, we need to, negotiate something. Basically, if the price is right, I might have to go ahead and jump on that. So I was like, okay, then you done went woof. So I don't forgot what the man's name is because he ain't really important like that right now. But the dumb dude, the dumb dude who is like Doodah's right hand right now, who is chauffeuring him everywhere and setting it off for him. I'm like, how he done set it off, and like every time you look up, he talking down to you, but you want to live for him. I guess you feel like you have nothing better to get from the situation because you live in the street life, so you got to just deal with whatever is thrown your way. Oh, okay, do what you do. I don't see the point, but go off though. So then it came back to the house. I don't remember if that was the house that man lived in before Q started being held up in the house. But anyway, he up in the house and they going through some things or whatever. He was like, look, we got to flip that. It was a stack of money up in there. And he was like, okay, I'm going to handle that. I got that. Different things they're going to work on. So he's trying to figure out, are there any people that he can, help to get a situation going? And so he was, looking around the room and he saw a picture of Q and Rob because Rob is Q's nephew. And so he was like, do you know this cat? He was like, yeah, I know who that is. That's Q's nephew. So he wanted to know information about him because he trying to figure out if he can, pretty much have him as an ally and, get some more business streams of income rolling through his business. So he found out what his business was. He was like, look, he wasn't cool with his uncle like that, but they did have a standing business situation ship, if you will, even though he wasn't close to him like that, but he just basically put some respect on his name and was just like, that's my uncle. And so since he could say that's his uncle if he needed to, it just was what it was. But he did what he had to do as far as the drug gang go, because he is deep off into the weed business, the lucrative part of it. So he was like, well, I need to get in contact with him. Go talk to him and see what we can do. So go ahead and set that up because I need him to understand that business is still, it's still business as usual, even though his uncle is deceased. Go deliver the news that his uncle is dead and tell him that it's business as usual. And we need to set up some arrangements. So he wants him to call him at a later date and time or let him know that Doodah is going to be calling him. So anyway, we end up seeing Maisha and Gemma sitting down at Smokey's talking. Gemma is being very much manager, publicist, everything else. And she's like, look, we got to get you some more studio time, another producer, all this other stuff. And so Maisha like, okay, but how you going to do all this with no money? So she was like, I'll figure that part out. And so she was like, are you sure? She was like, girl, I'm going to figure it out. And I'm just like, okay, what you going to do, heifer? Because she does seem Like she wants to get it on her own. So I'm like, girl, how you gonna do that? Like you ain't got nothing going on for yourself. Like you ain't in school, you ain't doing nothing right now. I think she'd have dropped all the way out of school at this point, unless she is going and they're just not showing us at this moment. Because even though she's already expressed that she doesn't have an interest in going to college anymore because she felt like that was her father's dream, that's cool and all, but I mean, like I said, they aren't showing anybody really going to the schoolhouse right now. I don't know if school out for a holiday or what, or we just supposed to infer they going to the schoolhouse. But at first, we were seeing them go to school, so I don't know. Anyway, so she told her she gonna figure it out. Don't worry about that. So we see Trig's vehicle speed up into an unsavory neighborhood, and old boy, who is the henchman of Doodah, was like, "Oh no, don't worry about it. I'm gonna handle this," because everybody knows Trig's vehicle. And so, since he has gotten tint on the car, nobody can tell who it is no more until you let down the window. But all they knew for a fact is that that was Trig's vehicle. So the vehicle rolled up, and then the window rolls down, and I was like, something was just telling me this got to be Jacob. This is Jake. Jake done let down the window, and I'm like, why is he over here? What is really going on? But then Bakari done rolled up and pulled a gun on this man. Like, you need to back up and get out from around here. Don't worry about what we got going on over here. Like, I was like, so y'all on the same team now? What is going on? So anyway, he basically gave him the head nod. Like, I respect that, because he really could have got killed. Like, you can't just roll up. Like, no matter what you're trying to be on, they don't have no dealings with your brother, which means you are out the loop too, automatically. So he was like, all right, you got it. And like he walked off. And I just thought that him versus a whole group of people where everybody else is strapped, the fact that they were like, no, don't worry about it. I thought that once he pulled off, they was going to shoot the truck up. Now, the truck might be bulletproof, I don't know, but I'm just saying, I don't know. At this point, they ops. So I would have shot the truck up. I'm just saying I would have shot the truck up. Cause we ops. Like, ain't they ops? Like, they the ops. So anyway, Bakari put that gun in that man's face, told him going on by his business, and he walked away. And I'm like, okay. So he ran on around the corner, and Jake pulled off in the truck and went on by his business. So I was like, okay. So then we see Darnell and Jada at the house. He over here calling her by his last name, and she was laughing and was like, I'm not your wife yet. And so, of course, he's trying to sneak some booty in there. And she was like, I told you we're not having sex no more till after we get married. And so he like, let me watch you walk away, though. But anyway, she, of course, wants to know, did you write your vows? Are they not going to be some OJ lyrics? Because I wanted to be real and heartfelt. So he was like, look, you ain't got to worry about it. I got everything cool, whatever. So anyway, moving right along, we end up seeing Victor roll up on Fatima. So at this point, he was like, well, thank you for meeting up with me. And so she was like, I got somebody, I got to cover the your situation anyway, so I'll be there. Because he was like, I can't even believe she gonna come to this situation where I'm going to announce that I'm running. And she was like, I'm gonna be there covering it, so I'll be there. So at this point, she was like, look, after you announce, I'm leaving the city. So he was like, what you mean? So she was like, there's nothing here for me, so I'm going to leave the city. And, because you could tell she obviously has feelings for him. He has feelings for her. But she says she's not going to be stagnant and sit there and try to wait on him to find himself and to understand what he has in front of him. And so he was like, so this is the last time, we're going to be together and I'll be able to see you? Like, wait a minute. And so he was just like, look, it is what it is. Well, she was just like, it is what it is. So then we end up seeing Gemma and Jake talking. And I guess he let her know what popped off. And she was like, you need to be careful. You would have gotten killed if Bakari wasn't there. Like, you don't need to put yourself in these situations no more. So anyway, the day of the teacher parent conference is upon us. And both couples are outside the door. So the teacher come out the door like, is everybody here for EJ? I was like, I know that's right. So anyway, they went inside. And she was like, he has improved drastically, but this is the thing. I'm planning on putting him into this like program where, to me, it equates to the same thing that we deal with in the social work world called an ISP, which is an individualized service plan. And it's all kinds of things you put in play that the client has to work on that helps to better them. And that's exactly what they're doing. It's a educational version for him. They're going to have people who are going to be there and help him emotionally and to encourage him and to help him in the areas that he needs help in. Like, he's going to basically have his own personal, like, group of people or a person, whether they're rotating people out or not, but they're going to be there on staff to help him. And I'm like, y'all better do that. I'm so here. Like, I love stuff like that. Because the thing is, like, I've told y'all this before, but I hate math with a passion. That's the only subject in school. If I ever had to explain what it feels like for me to sit down and do math on my own, even if a teacher sat there and tried to explain to me, it's like I felt like I must have, this is what dyslexia must feel like. It was so infuriating because I really wanted to understand what was happening, but I couldn't. My parents could not explain it to me. No other student could explain it to me. It gotten to the point where when I got in the 8th grade, I will never forget it to this day. I started at a new school in Montgomery, Alabama, at a middle school, at a junior high school. And I had this teacher, this black man named Mr. House. That man would sit there after class and still try to drill everything into me because he could tell that I was trying. I love when teachers can really see that you're trying and not trying to be like, oh, you just don't want to pay attention. Oh, you just don't want to understand. He could tell, like, it was so infuriating. I would be on the verge of tears because I could not grasp what he was saying to me. So he figured out ways to get it to click for me. My mama came up there a couple of times after school. Like, the fact that I've already explained to y'all, those of y'all who've been around, that we lived like far away enough away from the city to where it's like, woo, child, the needle is gonna move. And I rode the bus from kindergarten up until 12th grade. So usually if the car left from the house in the middle of the week, it was because we had a doctor's appointment or something like that. Or it was a holiday because we're out of school. But normally we ain't just leave out like that. So I was just like, golly, like, he called my mama and we had like stuff after school a couple of times. And he was like, I just want to, have her after school sometimes. And he would try to make it fast so that I wouldn't miss the bus because I had like a few minutes before my bus would get there, because it was not going to be a situation where my mama or anybody was going to be able to come and pick me up from school because I'm being tutored after school. But yeah, it was because we lived too far away from the school. Like, one way off Ann Street, because I went to Capitol Heights in the 8th grade. I went to 3 different schools. But that particular year in the 8th grade, I went to Capitol Heights. I don't know if they call it anything else now, but that's where I went. But yeah, Mr. House was the first math teacher that I had who saw that I was trying, and he went above and beyond so that I can get it. And even though it was still frustrating, he passed me. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, for somebody like me who I believe in getting all A's, that used to destroy my nerves. But it was like other teachers was like, oh, she do excellent in all the other classes. So they would just pass me along and would never have a conversation, would never sit down with me or my parents and discuss nothing. They were just like, oh, she, we didn't talk to the other people. Her report cards are stellar. She makes all A's or almost all A's and B's or whatever, like almost a perfect report card every time, because I lived for school. I just hated math. Math is just not my jam. So anyway, I'm sorry. That's why that part really stuck out to me. But the same enthusiasm that my teacher had when it came to me, she saw Keisha's enthusiasm when it came to explaining what she was doing in order to work with him. So she was like, oh yeah, when we work with EJ, I do flashcards and I do all these things. And so she was like, wait a minute. Okay, what you got going on? She was like, oh, I don't have a degree or whatever. I just took some early childhood education classes. So she's familiar with a lot of the things like that. And she likes kids anyway. So, that teacher was so here for it. At first I was like, are they going to be petty and like paying over to Tiffany? And Tiffany going to be like, dang, you over here making it seem like you live for my child more than I live for my child. But they didn't. So I was like, okay, good. Because I was not finna be here for that. So anyway, they need to continue to keep up the good work outside of that and do what they need to do. So after the meeting was over, Keisha was waiting on her outside the door, and she was like, "Hey, Keisha, can I talk to you for a few minutes?" And so Keisha, kind of reluctantly walked with her, and she was like, "Look, I just wanted to apologize to you for what I did. That was messed up. I shouldn't have did that." And so she was like, "All right, I mean, I forgive you. Like, but why did you do that?" And she was like, "I thought I could still pull Emmett, but apparently I can't. I thought I still had it, but I don't." And I'm like, "Girl, he trying to change for the better, so be glad." Like, cause I was just like, "Girl." Anyway, so she was like, I know I'm wrong. I should have said something to you earlier about us becoming a couple or whatever. And so they basically forgave each other and said their piece and they hugged it out. Meanwhile, Rob and Emmett are sitting down on a bench looking at the whole thing unfold. And eventually they were like, "Are we good?" And the other person was like, "Yeah." And they dapped each other up, and that was the end of it. I was like, "Child, y'all ain't even had no beef." Like, I thought y'all had already discussed the fact that y'all ain't had no beef, but go off though. So anyway, we end up seeing Gemma. Gemma is so desperate to prove that she really is ride or die for Maisha and is going to go to any lengths to get money for her to fund the career, that because she knows that she's going to be a star. She asked if anybody was hiring, was Smokey's hiring. So she was like, "Girl, no, you better call Papa and ask him." She did. And so he's putting her up on clean. He's putting her on clean up duty. Getting tongue tied again, y'all. My bad. And she ain't here for that. But she gonna do what she gotta do. And so she was like, "Why ain't at the cash register?" He was like, "Girl, you just got here. Like, you gonna do this. But if you can't do this, and if you think you ain't gonna be able to do this, I got plenty of cousins who need the paper." So she's sticking it out for now. So then at the house, we see Jake. He over here got some like little shirts that he done made up that basically are, here for his brother. And I think he was talking about like vote for him or like Victor for city council or something like that on him. And so he was like, "Oh my gosh, where'd you get these from?" He was like, "I made them." He was like, "What?" So he was like, "What, you like them?" He was like, "Man, I love them." He gave him a big old hug. He was talking about, "I got some for everybody to wear when you announce and all that." So it's everything. Well, so we see Duda roll up unannounced over to Tracy house. So Tracy trying to figure out what is hidden for, what you want, why you over here. And so, you should have called. And so she was like, "Oh, are you sorry about what you said about my son? Are you never going to say that again?" And he over here telling me he ain't going to do it no more, whatever. And so, like a dummy, she letting him inside. And I'm like, "Girl, I understand wanting to have love. I understand you living for a person. But for you to live for somebody like Duda to this degree, girl, why don't you understand that your life is in danger all the time, fooling with him?" Because I know plenty of dudes that have been in the streets or who are still currently in the streets. And some of them, it's like they are a completely different person when they are with their woman versus how they handle other random people in the street. I get that. But it's still not a good situation. It's still not a good situation. Like, I got a cousin right now. He stay in the streets. And I don't like that because my aunt's house, to me, is always a target. I have always been fearful that one day we're going to turn on the news or I'm going to get a phone call and somebody going to say that her house got shot up. Because everybody know my cousin still lived there. My cousin is about to be my age towards the end of this month. So we both about to be 40 in the next couple of years. Like, but he makes so much ridiculous amounts of money from the streets, and like he be having all these cars, and anyway, that's a whole nother situation. I ain't here for it, and I don't like I feel like she only tolerates him because he's barely there like that, but he has children, and she lives for her grandkids, and so she provides a safe environment for her grandchildren. So I feel like that's the only reason why she even put up with it now. So anyway, that's why I just be like, I understand, but no, like, girl, you could do better. Ooh, she get on my nerves. I'm just like, dang, I guess the sex is amazing, but at the same time, this is one of them situations where the sex is amazing, apparently. And I'm just like, girl. So anyway, she doing what she doing, and of course she wants to know, what happened with Q, because he over here talking about, oh, I done took over, and basically trying to make it seem like he's still alive, but he done took over for the time being. And she trying to figure out where he at though. And so he's saying everything but where this man at. So anyway, the woman who Shad was dating, she told us, oh, I'm glad that we got back together. And they both talking about they had something they need to talk to one another about. So he trying to figure out what it's hidden for. So he was like, well, you go first, because he's nervous, because he ended up having sex with the heifer that Victor is putting on a dog and pony show for the city. And I'm just like, child. Anyway, this heifer was like, you know what I'm saying? You're the man that I've always wanted and all of this. And led up to asking him if he would move in with her. And I'm like, oh, child, okay. But anyway, I was like, ma'am, okay. So this that threw him off. And so she's trying to gauge how he feel, because his reaction is saying a lot and nothing at the same time. And so he was like, no, 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 I'm happy. I'm just, whoa. And so she trying to figure out what he wanted to say. He was like, oh, nothing. I don't even remember no more, because your news was so good. And I'm like, boy, you just gonna keep on running with the lie, but go off though. So then we end up seeing this man, the man who is, in my opinion, Dudah's, henchman. He done rolled up to Rob's house, and he was like, look, your uncle has been killed, and you know Dudah, right? And he was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, so you need to be on the lookout for an unknown number, because Dudah will be reaching out to you. So he was like, hey man, who killed my uncle? He was like, you don't need to worry about all that. And I'm like, he should be able to, put two and two together, but go off though. So at the Roxanne, Tracy up in there, and Dick then rolled up on her and was like, look, you need to keep your distance from him. You don't need to fool with him no more. He is dangerous. He don't mean you no good. So she was like, everybody has a past. I'm like, Heifer, you want to die, apparently. Like, go somewhere and sit down. So anyway, he was just so fed up with the situation that this was the moment that finally fueled him to be able to call Gemma's daddy and be like, look, it's that time. So he gonna release the tape. And I'm here for it. I am all the way here for it, because I'm so sick and tired of him. So anyway, we end up seeing Kevin talking to, I think her name is Lene, the little girl who taught him all the gaming stuff that he knows. And he was just like, look, I'm sick and tired of living at my parents' house. They be trying me. I don't have the freedom that I need to have. This ain't what it's supposed to be. And I think I have enough money to move out now. I'm trying to move. I need to do what I need to do for myself. And so she was like, girl, you almost out the house. Like, why not just stay there? I like it here and all of that, right? I'm just like, child, it is what it is. So they ended up coming in the room, and they came in there with good news, because the adoption papers and stuff, everything came through. And so he looking kind of like, okay. They done hugged her, and then he finally got up, and I'm like, okay, are you going to just stay there now, or are you still planning on moving out? You just trying to fake the funk for the moment, or what? We shall see. So anyway, ended up seeing Dudah rolling up to Smokey's after it done closed. I'm trying to understand, if the place is closed, why the door still unlocked? I don't understand why people do that. It's going to be locked as soon as it's time for it to be closed. The door was still unlocked. And you already know it's an unsavory neighborhood. Even though the people know you, them people will still run up in there and rob you at any given time. Like, I don't trust none of them folks. But anyway, Dudah and the, random henchman then rolled up. Of course, Dudah wanted to talk to him, telling myself, oh yeah, I know who you are. You're Emmett, right? And I just want to let you know that I think you're doing an amazing job. How are you doing? And he was like, I mean, I'm doing okay. And he was like, I would love to, see this be franchised. And he was like, yeah, I want to make this a franchise too. So he was like, I'll be an investor. And so you could tell he was uneasy about it, because everybody knows Dudah. We know your government name, but we know your Dudah. So it is what it is. So anyway, Shad ain't said nothing to Victor about moving out. So he got his little box, and he trying to figure out where he going. And he was like, oh, she asked me to move in. So I'm like, okay, congratulations. That's good. So he thanked him for it and all that good stuff. And he was like, I'm gonna miss you around here. You made me the man that I am. Because, he always said encouraging things to push him to do the things that he's been doing and to be who he, essentially will be. So I'm like, well, that is good. So anyway, Gemma finally got the nerve to roll up on her daddy and was like, why don't you run me the money that you have been putting away for my college fund, because I ain't going? And he was like, what, have you lost your mind? And so she was like, that's my money. And so she was like, look, I ain't got time for this. And read him talking about how a college degree ain't nothing but a piece of paper. And I'm like, shoot, I got one myself. And at times, I swear that's all I feel like it is. Because some of the people who be getting over and don't be doing no work, I be like, child. But it's like at the same time, sometimes they be like, oh, you need a degree for the nothing that you have to do. And I'm just like, y'all really are trying people. And at times, I agree with people when they say that college is a scam. I get it. I get it. I get both sides of it. So, it is what it is. So she was able to convince her father to give her a portion of that money. And he straight up told her, if you don't do what you need to do and prove to me that you're going to be something within a year, then you're going to go to school. And so she said, I'll agree to that. So then we end up seeing Tracy. Oh, Lord. They made a point to show Tracy first. The news came on. They had breaking news and they showed the video footage. Duda at his house done threw a glass at the fireplace and then broke it because he's so mad. I'm like, oh my gosh. At this point, is he gonna, connect the dots? And I mean, I'm pretty sure, I think he has mentioned before that I have evidence against you if you ever come back here again and all this other stuff. But at this time, I mean, I'm just like, well, you're dumb anyway. But at the same time, it's like, you have dirt on your hands too, because you know about all of this Quentin stuff. But at the same time, I'm just like, he was trash. I don't think nobody in the community care like that outside of the streets about Q. But go off though. But I mean, the street justice do be a little bit brutal, so he gonna have to play his hand a little bit better than that, because ain't no telling what he might do next, because he didn't, messed him up. He hurt right now, and so he know he gonna have to lay low, and it is what it is. So now he trying to figure out who he gonna be able to kind of mold so that he can keep an eye on things for him. So the henchman was like, oh, I know somebody. And he was talking about Bakari. And so he was like, what makes you think that he is going to be the right person? He was like, well, he pulled a gun on me. And the reason why I didn't hem him up or nothing like that is because he is a killer. I knew he really would kill me. So, that's why I ain't do nothing. Because at this point, it was like, you could tell he was a child, like whatever. But that don't mean that. So, of course, he done rolled up to Tracy's house the next day, trying to apologize to us. I'm sorry I couldn't be the man that you needed me to be. And so, of course, trying to figure out what's going on with Q, he talk about, do you really want me to tell you? I'm like, girl, every time you look up, it's just more and more bad news. But you love setting it off and busting them thighs open. You always want to spread, thighs and butt cheeks for Duda. Why, ma'am? But why? Anyway, it's the day of the wedding. The wedding is popping off. Everything is beautiful. And they doing their vows. He is emotional the entire time. She had on a, I guess, age appropriate dress, but she has the body to have, something else on. So, I mean, it is what it is. She got the backyard wedding that she wanted. So I'm glad for that for her. Cause she wanted the bare minimum. It's like, let's save money. We got a future we gotta, pay for. Everybody is enjoying themselves, even Emmett and the guys. Like, everybody is booed up, doing what they're doing. The girls are back friends again. So Keisha and Tiffany are dancing together and all that. Meanwhile, Darnell done walk around to the front of the house and he was like, yeah, I had to take you away from everything real quick. This man that sat up here and bought a house. The house where the backyard is at. So she looking at him like, wait a minute, what? And see, this is why I agree with her. I need to see the proper tag first. I need to see how, what if I don't like it? And he was like, well, do you? She was like, I don't know. I ain't seen it. And of course, they talk about Kristen in every room and all this other stuff. She probably gonna live for it. She's a minimalist like me. Like, it ain't gotta be everything, but I just want certain things. Like, where I'm living currently. This is what my ex chose. I would never choose this place. If y'all saw how the bathroom setup was, y'all would be like, no, ma'am, why is this happening? I don't like these wood floors because this is an old building, so it does not work. Like, you hear every single thing. The boards are it's everything that I would never want in a place. It's humongous. We did not need this place. We were two people. We did not need a 3-bedroom. We just did not. A 2-bedroom would have been fine. You know what I'm saying? But a 3-bedroom for what? Like, child, anyway, I'm not here for this place. But it is what it is. So anyway, then they aren't the only ones who got a new place. Emmett ended up upgrading their home, and she trying to figure out where the money came from. He came clean, of course, and told her it was Duda. She was like, "Are you crazy? Did you see the news and how he beat that man and all this other stuff?" He was like, "Look, I understand all that, but trust me, I got this. I'm gonna need for you to trust me." Kevin was waiting on his parents to get home, and they were like, yeah, what you're not finna do is move out." And so he was like, "Look, I already signed all the paperwork to be emancipated." And they talking about, well, his mama talking about, "Oh, so since you so obsessed with paying rent, how about you go ahead and start handing us some of that money?" I'm just like, I don't understand why people think that that's it. I want my freedom from y'all. Why y'all think that basically, the way that they saying it, it's coming off like you need to bribe me so that you can get a little bit more freedom. But if I just pay for my own way, I can be as free as I want to be. But I'm just saying, he gonna learn, because I definitely was one of the people like, "Oh, I can't wait to get out the house. I can't wait to do this. I can't wait to do that. And I'm tired of my spirit, all these bills." But it is what it is. I still value my privacy and all that stuff. So it is what it is. And I mean, that's why I essentially don't want to move back home now, because I would have to start all the way back over if I don't already have myself established. Then, I mean, they always told me I'd be welcome back home. I don't want that. I don't want that. Anyway, so Gemma was getting picked up by all of the, the little friends, everybody in Victor's truck. And one of Maisha's song came on. It was on the radio. Like, it's like already starting. And I'm like, okay then. So everybody is hyped. In my mind, y'all, I was like, please don't let these people come roll up and pull a drive-by. Y'all don't be understanding. My mind be going so many places. And I'm like, I don't put nothing past none of these shows. Y'all be trying me. So anyway, then we end up seeing Victor, where he is about to announce he's running, but we see Fatima walking through the crowd. So the heifer is announcing him, and he getting up there. You could tell he's like mellowed out, and he's not happy like he probably would have been. And so he was like, "Look, hey y'all, thank y'all for being here and all of that or whatever. And I'm here because of y'all, and hopefully after I say what I gotta say, y'all will still be here." And so he said, "My relationship is fake with this heifer over here. And I just wanted y'all to think that I was a good black man. I really do want everything that I'm talking about in my campaign or whatever. But at the same time, I want y'all to be understanding of what my love life is. I met someone. I love this person. I can't claim to be all of this if I'm over here starting out on a lie. So hopefully while I'm on a campaign trail, eventually I'll be able to win over y'all trust and all of that." So he just set it off. And so, of course, Shad had to set off the clap real quick, and everybody else started clapping. And so he went through the crowd hugging people, and then he got to Fatima and kissed her. I was like, you better do that. You better do it. So that's how that went. And it ended on a great note. I was so here for that episode. Oh my gosh, this was a great season. Oh my gosh, it was great. I still feel some type of way about Jada and Darnell getting together, and Emmett and Keisha. It's just like, look, they just wanted it to go this way. I ain't lean away from them. It is what it is. But anyway, y'all, hopefully y'all enjoyed this recap review for The Chi. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you have not done so. Bye, y'all.